By 1914, Blavatsky's mystical doctrine of the destiny of Aryan man has spread throughout Germany and Austria. The opening days of the Great War. There is little sense of impending cataclysm. All over Europe, news of war is greeted with unqualified enthusiasm. In all the warring nations, the emotions of militant nationalism are given free rein. In the ranks of the Austrian and German armies, there is a widespread belief that the aspirations of a generation may be satisfied at last. The unification of German-speaking peoples and the creation of a Germanic empire. To the frontline soldiers of the imperial armies, the teachings of the Austrian clairvoyant Guido von List are an inspiration. List believes that in the Germans, more than in any other people, runs the blood of the mythical race called by Madame Blavatsky the Aryans. To List, the Great War is proof that the modern world with its materialism and its democracy is destroying itself. But out of war and destruction will come the victory of the German cause and the beginning of an Aryan millennium. List revives the prayer of the 16th century philosopher and heretic Giordano Bruno. O Jove, let the Germans realize their own strength, and they shall not be men, but gods. Like Aleister Crowley and Madame Blavatsky, List's psychic researches have led him to believe in the existence of a hidden elect. His visions of the ancient German tribes have revealed to him an elite class of priest rulers. List calls it the Ahmannenschaft. The role of the Ahmannenschaft was to preserve the occult knowledge of the Germans' Aryan ancestors. List claims that the imposition of Christianity on the Teutonic tribes and the persecution of the followers of the old religion forced the Ahmannenschaft to continue its traditions in secret. Their law had lived on in the rituals and symbols of a network of secret societies. The store of occult knowledge had been preserved down the centuries by Freemasons, Rosicrucians and chivalrous orders such as the Knights Templar. Loss of the Aryan psychic powers. Lance believes that the ancient Germanic tribes had, by imposing strict race laws, purified their blood, retrieving traces of the Aryans' divine nature. Those laws, Lance teaches, have been destroyed by Christianity and must be revived. The result, over many generations, would be the breeding of a superior type of human, a God-man. From the many The ceremonial swords of the Luftwaffe will bear the Thule swastika. Decorations for anti-partisan warfare on the Eastern Front will display the Thule dagger and the curved swastika. Whatever the form in which the swastika will appear in the banners and regalia of National Socialism, its meaning will remain the same. It is the meaning claimed for it by Madame Blavatsky and Guido von List. It is the sign of creation, the sign of the mystical destiny of Aryan man. By the 1920s, the spread of Charles Darwin's theories of evolution has had a profound impact on nationalist consciousness. A new explanation for the differences between cultures and for the rise and fall of civilizations is now possible. Increasingly, laws of inheritance are believed to be the key to history. The artistic achievements of a nation, its courage in war, its temperament, even its spiritual life, are all believed to be the legacy of race. It is a belief that will culminate in the official Nazi doctrine that each race has its soul and each soul its race. The myth of the Aryan, developed in the occult teachings of Madame Blavatsky and Guido von List, has by the late 1920s spread throughout Europe, the United States and Britain. And with it, fascination with the swastika. By 1930, members of the British Druidic cults display swastikas on their ceremonial robes. The Superman. It is devoted to physical culture, and on its cover is a border of swastikas. The Superman, as well as features on sport and health, carries articles by respected British scientists. The man rune, the rune of death, which in time will replace the cross in the graveyards of the SS. Study of the runes is required of all SS officers. Of the many strange and mystical symbols which have found a place in the new order of National Socialism, one dominates all others. Guido von List called the swastika the twice-high holy secret of constant generation. He recounts a Nordic tale in which the god Mundel Fiore whisks the cosmos into being. The swastika is the fire whisk, the very act of creation. A Nazi hymn proclaims, "The time of the cross is gone now. The sun whisk shall arise. And so with God we shall be free at last and gift our people back their honor." By 1909, the occult visions of Guido von List have made him famous throughout the German-speaking lands. To List, every stream, hill and forest in Austria was associated with a Germanic god or spirit. In the devices of heraldic shields, in the beams of Austrian houses, in folk customs and rituals, List claimed to see evidence that Austria was and always had been part of the German homeland. For 2 generations, German-speaking Austrians had looked to Germany for reassurance and a sense of identity. But events were about to occur which would place in doubt the very future of the fatherland itself. 1914, the Great War. For the first time in history, the might of industry is unleashed on the battlefield. Nothing could have prepared the peoples of Europe for slaughter on such an unimaginable scale. As the war grinds on and casualties mount, frontline soldiers on both sides of no man's land take to the wearing of charms and amulets. In the ranks of Germans and Austrians, the most popular of all magic talismans is the swastika. The swastika medallions and amulets worn in the trenches of the Great War are based on the researches of Guido von List. By now, an influential and wealthy society devoted to the teachings of the master has already been formed in Vienna. It is the List Society, which supplies designs to the manufacturers of swastika talismans. The swastika, now spreading amongst the German armies, is fast becoming the emblem of militant German nationalism. But since 1908, it had acquired another, even more ominous meaning. Shortly before the outbreak of the Great War, List had incorporated the occult teachings of Madame Helena Blavatsky into his own German mythology. Now he no longer refers to ancient Germans or Teutons. Instead, the tribes who populate his visions he names Aryans. In Madame Blavatsky's writings, the Aryans are the race of upward spiritual evolution, the race whose sign is the swastika. In Hitler's Mein Kampf, the meaning of the swastika to the Nazi party is made clear. In the swastika, he writes, "We see the mission for the struggle for the victory of Aryan man."
was einem ganzen Leben Inhalt, Sinn und Zweck gegeben hat. Es wird nicht so etwas aus nichts, wenn diesem Werden nicht ein großer Befehl zugrunde liegt. Und den Befehl gab uns kein irdischer Vorgesetzter, den gab uns der Gott, der unser Volk geschaffen hat.
By the 1930s and the great Nazi rallies at Nuremberg, the concept of the Aryan has become a cornerstone of the party's mystical ideology. The grand design for the Aryan state has already existed for over 20 years. Its author was Guido von List. In the slaughter and misery of the Great War, the writings of Guido von List assume greater and greater significance for the soldiers of the German and Austrian armies. To List, the Great War is the conflict which will purge the world of evil and herald a new age. Democracy and materialism will be destroyed on the battlefields of Europe. Victory will usher in an Aryo-German empire. By 1911, List had already described in detail his vision of the future Germanic state. It will be a strict hierarchy in which leaders will be obeyed without question. It will be patriarchal, with full rights only for the male heads of families. Only Aryans will be entitled to citizenship. There will be strict laws to ensure the purity of the race. Every family will keep a record of its ancestry as proof of its Aryan blood. By 1918, the conflict which List called the holiest war had cost the lives of 2 million Germans. That same year, the German armies had won a series